Everyone, and welcome back to the 20s Girls Club podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. This is Miss Mel. Mel is Meg's twin, Yay. My lifelong bestie, and we're just so happy that you're here today. Mel has such an incredible story of her health, and that's why we have her on the podcast today, because she inspires us so much. And for the last few years, she's also been a certified health coach. So she is just an abundance of wisdom and good information, and so we wanted her to just tell us about her story. So if you are needing some encouragement on your health journey and need like some good micro wisdom moments, this is the podcast for you. This is very digestible and very practical. So tune in and let's get going on this awesome podcast. All right, Mel, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Hello.
Your first time here.
It is.
I feel like it's going to be hard for us to not just talk in weird voices.
That's true. Like baby voices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can just like come all the time now that you're like a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, every Monday I'll be here.
You and Millie can be the podcast guest.
Yeah, I'm sure she has a lot to say.
Oh my gosh,
sure.
We
interview Millie.
We should just like take obviously not post it, but just like every so often put her in front of a mic and just see what happens, and we have a whole documentary throughout her life.
Oh, that's cute.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anyways.
That's a good idea.
Okay, we're talking about your health journey today. So, do you want to let her rip?
Sure.
It's gonna be good.
I am 7 weeks postpartum and sleep deprived, so if something I say makes zero sense, just be like, run them back. Try again. Or if I lose my train of thought.
Yeah.
But
You're good.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like health obviously is a lifelong thing. Taking it way back to the beginning, we were born 6 weeks preemie, so like I feel
They're
like
twins, by the way, if that hasn't been
if you can't tell.
You probably can't.
We're triplets actually.
Actually, we're triplets.
A lifelong joke.
It is. It's true. But anyways,
We always think it's funny.
Yeah.
No one else laughs though.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, so I feel like health from the beginning of our life has kind of been a little bit rocky. When you come out 6 weeks early, you don't have all the things that you need. But for me, I feel like health, big picture, when it really got bad, I guess, was more probably high school, early college, I would say. I feel like I was kind of the classic, like, tummy issues girl, like when you go from pooping a ton to not pooping at all, like type of stuff, like back and forth, your stomach hurts all the time, whatever, like all of that. And it's just very normal. Like when you're a high school girl, I feel like everyone had tummy issues, and it was just kind of like, okay, like that's just what it is. But it kind of got to the point around the time I was 19 where I was just like really miserable, where it was like all day, every day. I wasn't sure what was causing it. Doctors weren't helping me. Like, mom had taken me to a bunch of different doctors, and all they kept saying was essentially like to be on birth control, which I was at the time, and that was
They said
also
they wanted you to be on birth control for your tummy
and like hormone stuff.
Okay.
And yeah, because I also on the hormonal side was just like had really rough periods, like would miss school because of them, and like just was all over the place that way, and had kind of on like the mental emotional health side was like really really off at that time. It was pretty bad, just so anxious, and I feel like anxiety and stuff is something I've struggled with since I was really little, like even just thinking back. And it's all now, it's all so connected, and like what causes what, gut brain or brain gut. I think it goes both ways. But so it was kind of multifaceted, where all of those things were kind of, and I was just like falling apart. Like I couldn't function really in any capacity. And so I was grateful my mom like kind of didn't take the doctor's answers and was like, there's more going on here. So I ended up going to a chiropractor who kind of ran some more in-depth tests, like some blood work and stool tests. And through that found out, oh, you are like majorly reacting to gluten. And my like 19-year-old brain was like, if I just stop eating gluten, all my problems are going to go away. Not thinking about anything else that I was eating or doing was going to impact it. So things definitely got like a little bit better after stopping eating gluten at 19. but I just replaced gluten with like gluten-free processed food all the time. And so that didn't really help me long term. And so it was kind of just like, it was slightly better, but not anywhere near like great. And then I feel like, because when I was 19, so I was like a freshman in college. And then my sophomore year of college is when I transferred to UWL. And I feel like it was more manageable. I don't remember being like miserable too much, like as I was before that, but definitely still was kind of like the health I have now. I would be miserable if I had a day like I did back when I was 20.
That makes sense, yeah.
Like just when it's your normal, I think you don't think that anything is really that wrong until you like actually feel better, and then you're like, oh, I really didn't feel good all the time.
I always compare that to, it's like when you live in Wisconsin in the winter, you're like, oh, I'm fine, I'm happy, I'm good in the middle of winter, and then all of a sudden you have like a warm day and you're like, oh, I wasn't okay. I was not okay. Like
That's so true.
And so I feel like it's kind of comparable.
Yeah, that's like exactly what it was. And I think for me, like big picture too, I didn't really care about my health when I was younger. I wanted to feel good and I wanted to look good was more what it was when I was younger. Yeah. So that led to even like a pretty intense eating disorder where like I lost a bunch of weight. And so that is not a healthy relationship with health, where I wasn't caring about myself or my body. I just wanted to look good for other people. And so through that, I feel like I had some people, really like my roommate in college at the time, kind of like called me on it and was like, I'm scared for you. And that was the first time I was like, oh, I'm doing something bad to my body. And I didn't realize that at the time. And I didn't really think about doing good or bad things to my body. I just like wanted to look a certain way. And so that was an interesting thing to go through. And then I feel like in college, a lot happened kind of parallel to health, and it's also intertwined, but in college is when I found the Lord. And so that I think was the biggest shift for me health-wise, was actually coming to understand that I am like a thoughtfully and wonderfully created being. And before that, like not viewing my body as something that was created for a purpose, more just like, wanted it to look a certain way to get certain attention. And so that shift, I feel like, was really helpful, but I was also now dealing with years of kind of like damage to my gut and my system after being on birth control for 5 or 6 years, from like 13 to 20. And then again, like I said, not eating well, and I was drinking in college, like I was not sleeping, and our apartment had mold, like all of this stuff. And so I think then it was more of a frustrating, like, oh, I kind of have a lot of work to do here. And then not knowing where to start was part of that. And so that was probably towards the end of college, like once I was getting out, started kind of diving in to more like holistic type stuff. Actually, a lot of it kind of came about through COVID when you couldn't go to the doctor anymore, and I was sick of going and them just telling me to get back on birth control. And I was like, well, I can't go anyways now because I'm not dying, so and I don't want to go. So it kind of, that led me into like the route of kind of just looking into more holistic stuff, and then that layer of understanding like my body was created well and God created our bodies a certain way. How can I work with that? And how can I figure that out as best I can? And so that kind of, I feel like in COVID, when you were kind of not doing anything, you could hyperfixate on stuff. So that led to a major hyperfixation of that, of just really deep diving and kind of all of it, of like food and toxins and all of that stuff. But again, it was kind of like way too much. And then you start trying a lot of different things, and just being an impatient human, you want it to work right away, and then it doesn't. And so then you're like, oh, well, then I'll try this, or I'll stop eating this, or I'll be pescatarian now, and then it's like, okay, what are we doing? You're like shocking your system left and right. And then I felt like I was kind of gaining some traction with my health, and then it tanked again when I was teaching. So I was a teacher for 2 years, and I think just the pure exhaustion of the job, plus working in like a really old building that I'm sure was moldy and had stuff in it. is not ideal. And the apartment I lived in, I'm sure had it too. So like just some different factors there. And I wasn't sleeping those 2 years, like really at all. Like had really bad insomnia, which then like all of that just kind of layers on layers. And I was so stressed out all the time. I was getting sick constantly, like had a cold. I had a cold or something every 2 weeks. Like I remember, especially when I was teaching second grade, I had COVID twice and like 3 upper respiratory infections within like 6 months. And that like then tanks you. Like you to recover from that, you can't. And so that was 2 years of that. And then I was just in a place, I was about to get married and I was like, I can't live this way. Like kind of back to that, like I'm not functioning. I'm not where I want to be. I can't be the person I want to be. And I don't want to step into marriage being this person. This is more important than teaching is to me right now. And so that kind of led me to step away from teaching, not sure what I was going to do next. And it's kind of funny. I was actually looking into functional medicine for myself to go. And one thing led to another, and I actually ended up working in functional medicine as a health coach. So that's kind of where that was 2 years ago now. And then worked there for 2 years and got my health coaching certification through that process and worked alongside the practitioner that I worked for.
Didn't you get that job from... Like it was one of your students' parents that ran that clinic.
It was one of my students' parents, but then
so
also
cool.
one of my colleagues is really good friends with her, and her and I would talk health at school all the time, like talk about food dyes and sugar and processed foods and all that. And so when she knew that they were looking for someone, she was like, I think you'd be good at it. You should apply. And I was like, I don't have any credentials for this. Like how I have a psych degree, like what am I supposed to do with that?
Which not a bad place to start.
No,
for being a health
no,
coach.
it actually came in handy a lot of the time. And then so kind of pieced together that knowledge, but then over like the certification process and just learning from my practitioner that I worked for, piecing together more of like the biology, what our bodies do, what works for them side of things, which was really, really cool to just kind of get some more base knowledge of like what are the building blocks of cells and how do they actually work? Because a lot of times we can like kind of be chasing like really big bunny trails on things and not just be like foundationally sound in our health. And what I really appreciated about where I worked was like it was like foundation first. Like we're not going to chase, like you might have Lyme or mold or all this stuff, but we're not going to chase that first. We're going to get your body into a place because our bodies, if they're in a good place, should be able to process through toxins well and all of that. Granted, everyone's a little different, genetic factors, autoimmune, like all of that is things, but starting with the foundation, you can weed out some of those things a little bit quicker versus starting out here and still having a really bad like foundation and basics of health.
Could you define functional medicine from your perspective?
Yes. This was a question we got all the time at our clinic because there's like holistic health and functional medicine. There's lots of titles. I think
just kind of explain like because like even like that world of things, it really there isn't, it's not completely cut and dry and black and white. So maybe just explain like your take on it. Yeah.
So I think how I viewed it and how our clinic viewed it was like holistic health was a really big umbrella term. And in that you have your chiropractors, you have your health coaches, you have kind of all these different things. And you have functional medicine within holistic health, but functional medicine is a little more like rigid in the sense of like to be a functional medicine doctor, like you do have to have like a doctorate degree and like training that way. So it's a little more honed in. You have a little bit more parameters of like what you do, I guess. It's not as broad as like the holistic health world. And so functional medicine, I guess then the biggest thing was like really just trying to get to the root cause of what was causing symptoms and support your body at like a cellular level and get into the kind of nitty gritty with what your body is doing and what it needs.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense. I think I've been learning more this last year about like the cellular level of our health. I think it's something that maybe people know like what holistic healthcare is, or they might know what functional care is, but could you just explain like what it means to like look at your health from a cellular level?
Yeah. I think a lot of that is, well, first of all, you can kind of go two routes. I think there's one route of like working with a trained professional practitioner. And I know that not everyone can afford that. So like, I know we'll talk about some things that you can do eventually, but so that's like one route that I would say if you can invest in your health that way, I totally would say it's worth it. Having like worked with my practitioner on my health, like I am where I am today because I was able to do that and learn so much through that. And that, what that looks like is deep diving into, like, we always called it, like, looking under the hood with, like, blood work and, like, stool testing. Not going too crazy with testing, because you can also do that, too, where you're testing for every little thing. You're doing all the tests that are out there, and it's, like, with a really good comprehensive, like, blood panel and a stool test, you can get a lot of information about what your body is doing and some things that you can do to help it. And so that's what I kind of mean with a cellular level, especially on the blood. You're looking at your minerals, you're looking at your lipids, you're looking at all of those different things that are building blocks that work together. But if one piece of the puzzle is really off, you might be having a certain symptom, but it might be something as simple as like your minerals are super low. And if you're chasing the symptom, sometimes you might not actually ever get to that conclusion. Or it's like your minerals are low and this is low and this is high, and how do we fit that together? So that's where like working with a practitioner I think is really helpful to put those things together. But if you can't do that, there are things that you can do too. So yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good. I feel like that's even what you said, like chasing bunny trails all the time. It's like, obviously that's a thing that brings us to the doctor or to a physician, is like the fact that we have Lyme's, we have chronic pain, stomach issues, eczema, whatever it is, but trying to take it like steps back of like, but what is off, like not just trying to treat the problem.
And our bodies are really good at telling us what's wrong, and I think that's something that a lot of people aren't like super in tune with their bodies. They kind of just float through their days and their lives without being like, what am I feeling, what's going on with my body, where like once you kind of start paying attention or realizing like, oh, when I don't sleep I feel this way, or the week before my period I feel this way, like that can help you really start to kind of figure out what's going on for you too.
Or even so, I think something I've learned is like, when I eat this, I feel this. Like when I eat an excess of sugar, my joints ache. When I mean, I know for you, when you eat sugar, you can feel more anxious or not sleep, or too much caffeine. And it's just learning how to like be present in your body is, it's a whole thing. But I guess then, so you started working at the functional health clinic. Then what happened?
So I was there for 2 years, and through my training, but like I kind of mentioned, I did work like as a patient with my practitioner too. That's cool. Which was really cool. So kind of learned, I was like my own case study a little bit, like learning a lot through that. And so we did a lot of different things, but kind of started with that testing of like what's actually going on here. She does an amazing job of taking like your symptoms, pairing them with the data and working through that, not just like one or the other, because sometimes you can have symptoms but it can not show up on blood work, and we don't want to just be like, there's nothing wrong, and then we can go or look at different things. But anyways, through that, just some different like honed in treatments for me specifically, but a lot of it was more of that foundational stuff that I was kind of talking about before, of like I really kind of honed in and cleaned up my diet, like, and I think, and maybe we'll talk about this more later, but I do think you have to be careful when you're like really strict about things, but I also think there are times where it's good to be, where if you're really trying to figure out your health, like, yes, there's balance, and yes, 80-20 most of the time, but there are times where we need to hone in and we need to focus and be like, I'm not doing that right now because I want to know what's going on with my body, or I want to give my body a chance to heal. And so that's kind of what I did, was kind of had just a really honed in few months of like, nothing really inflammatory. So like wasn't doing dairy, I already wasn't doing gluten, but then just like what I was eating shifted to more whole food stuff that was like heavy in like high quality proteins, good veggies, and like not a ton of like high processed carb stuff, like not doing a ton of pastas, breads, that kind of stuff. And just kind of shifting more to that and like eating a savory breakfast, not a sweet one, or like actually eating breakfast and like having a good meals and giving your body time to digest, like just really kind of shifting that helped a lot. And then paired with like a supplement type regimen to kind of fill those gaps that we don't get from our food and our water anymore, just with we're not getting our water from the mountains and we're not getting our food from a garden outside. So like our nutrients in our food and water.
The soil's wrecked.
Yes, that too. So we are getting good nutrients through our food and our water, but not as much as we used to. So we do sometimes need to fill those gaps. And so using supplements to fill gaps and then treating some things that I had wrong. So I had like H. pylori, which is a common like gut bug that I know you both had as well. And so like treated that.
I wonder
and
if
then
we all got it at the same time.
Most people have it. It's like very, very common.
Okay.
You have like I think it's one of those where it's like everyone has a little bit and some people don't get bothered by it, but some people are like very sensitive to it. But we all spent a lot of time together when we were kids, so we very much could have.
We all shared the same water bottles.
So we could have all given it to each other. Who knows? But anyways, that was like one thing, and then I had some other things like needed to kind of regulate my cortisol function and curve that way. And so there was like a few different treatments. I feel like it was kind of honed in, working through some different stuff for about a year and a half, of mainly like herbal stuff to kind of kill the bad stuff that was in my gut and then rebuild from there. So that was kind of the main way. And then, like I said, supplementing with some other things. I had a thyroid issue that we cleared really quickly with just like some nutrition stuff actually, which was cool.
Really? I don't remember you having a thyroid.
Is that the iodine?
Yeah, I had like I was like on the verge of like hypothyroidism, like low. And for me, and it's like because it was my practitioner that was telling me to do this, so don't like just do it. But I just supplemented with iodine and made sure I was getting like iodine drops and then eating iodine-rich food, which like we don't eat in Wisconsin.
What is iodine-rich food?
So like fish and seaweed and like that kind of stuff, which we just like don't have in Wisconsin unless you're eating like Japanese food all the time, but we're not.
Or Mississippi River fish that are filled with an abundance of mercury.
So yeah, we're not doing that. But like even like cooking in cast irons and stuff helps with iron and like, or iron I guess isn't iodine, but
different thing.
It helps. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, that helped my thyroid. My thyroid came back pretty quickly, but again, what I think it truly was, though, was all of the things kind of put together.
Yeah.
And I was, like, not as stressed out anymore. I was sleeping better, like...
Makes all the difference.
Yeah, it does. And so, and now I'm, like, postpartum and not sleeping. And I'm like, ugh. Okay. But anyways, so... I think it was just all the pieces of the puzzle. And like I said before, having a different view of myself and my health and my body and especially after getting married and knowing we wanted to have kids, like I was like, this also shifts this for me of I now need to like treat my body differently because it's going to carry my children. And so I truly don't think like if I wouldn't have gone through those 2 kind of year and a half, 2 years of really honing in, focusing on my health and getting things back to where they should have been, I don't think like Millie would be here because I was in such a wreck of a place. My hormones were all over the place. I was barely like, I don't even know if I was ovulating. Like, I think we would have, maybe she would be still here, but I don't think it would have been as smooth of a process or I wouldn't have felt as confident in the pregnancy and birth and postpartum process when it comes to health if I wouldn't have put that work in ahead of time.
That makes sense.
And so that was kind of that's kind of where I ended. And then I worked there up until I gave birth. So I haven't worked there in about 2 months or 3 months now. But those 2.5 years were really pivotal for me and my health. And now just more in a maintenance mode, I guess, kind of got through the nitty gritty of like really needing to hone in and focus, finding more of what that balance is for me. And I think with health, there's always something to be improving on. There's always something to be implementing or doing. And for me, that can get hairy where it's like, oh, I just never feel like I'm doing enough. So I really just try to like, I have the basics that are like the most important to me, which like the biggest one is usually like what I'm putting in my body. That's good, and on my body. Like those two are like, if I am not doing anything else, those two are staying. And so that's just like been my priorities. And I think for me, like those priorities come from having a really deep rooted why of your health, because if we don't have a good reason why, we're not going to stick to it. And so I think that's the health coach in me. That's what I had to do, was pull that out of people. Like, you can want to lose weight, but why? Like, what is the actual reason? We'd always ask people that like 3 or 4 times down. And a lot of times it comes down to like actually enjoying your life and wanting to be around to see your kids or your grandkids grow up, like when we had older people. And so when your health gets in the way of you like enjoying your life, that is where I feel like you need to like get into that a little more of like, if that's stopping you, we need to look at that and kind of get that figured out, because we only get one life and we only get one body and we only get one chance at all this. And so trying to get to the healthiest place we can be is really important. And like, I don't know, your habits reflect your values too. So if you say you care about your health, but then your habits show otherwise, you don't actually value it. And when you're young, it's hard to, because you are just like naturally more healthy. Like I think back to when you're like 20 or 19, you're like
very resilient.
Whatever, like it's fine. I can eat this, I can eat that. And then it does catch up to you eventually, or you start realizing, oh, my normal is not actually like optimal or good.
Like the health coach, I know you were saying you were pulling the why out of people. And so I guess for people listening, do you have any like prompts or like guidance for them for them to figure out like what is actually my why, and how can I figure out if it's like a sustainable one even, if that makes sense?
I do think the easiest way to do that is just keep asking why. So if you're like, if I asked you like, why do you want to be healthy, and you were like, oh, I want to be strong, or I want to be able to run a marathon, or whatever like that kind of surface level goal is, okay, but why? Like, why do you want to be strong? And some people are like, I don't know, I just want to be. But I would like, that's where then I would encourage people to like think about that. Like, where is that coming from? Why do you want to be strong? Or why, whatever. And I feel like it goes two ways. Sometimes it's like you want to be healthy, or some people are like, I don't want to end up like XYZ. Like I saw my mom or I saw my dad be super unhealthy, and I don't want that for my life. And okay, but why? Why was it hard for you that your parents were unhealthy? Because they couldn't show up for me, or they died earlier, they can't be grandparents now in the way that we would have wanted them to be, or whatever it is. Like those, just kind of asking why down like 2 or 3 times, you can usually get to something that's a little bit deeper, and that is going to be more sustainable than that surface level goals, which those goals are fine to have. They're just not going to actually motivate you to do it long term. If anything, you'll do it to reach your goal, and then you'll go back to what you're doing before. So that usually helps people get down in there.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's good. I feel like you've seen so many patients and clients. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, because for me in my health journey, it was kind of like you, where I hit a breaking point of like my quality of life is like is tanked, and like because of this I don't want to feel this way anymore. But then I do see a lot of people in my life who maybe haven't had that tank yet, where they are healthy and they'll say, you know, I don't need to do these healthy things because I'm healthy. But I think maybe some people are recognizing that, like you said, in time, some of that probably will eventually end up catching up to them. And it's not because of them, but more of the environmental factors. Right. Because we live in, like, the most toxic world that's ever existed is today. And, like, people are getting sicker younger. Like, breast cancer rates, like, they're younger and younger. And, like, women are getting their period. Little girls, it's, like, at such a young age. And, I mean, the list goes on and on of, like, how much sicker our society is. But what would you say to people who are healthy today and maybe are okay, but want to take a baby step into taking care of themselves before, everything hits the fan for them? Because I feel like that's that's a harder position to be in. It's honestly pretty easy to like take care of your health when you're miserable.
Yeah.
Because you're like
desperate,
I have nowhere else to go. I'm either like this is my only option. So
yeah, I will say it is kind of hard because when people are coming to us for help, they are wanting to change their health. And it's like that classic, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So if people are wanting to take care of their health, I do think it again goes back to that why, and maybe the why for them is they want to just take better care of themselves, or they want to kind of optimize their health. We would see that too, where people would be like, I feel healthy, but I want to optimize. I want to make sure there's nothing going on under the hood that I don't know about that's going to show up in 5 to 10 years. And then I'm going to have issues then. So I do think, again, just like having your health as a priority and a value in your life, no matter what stage of health you're at, is important. And because again, like if you lose your health, you do lose like your quality of life. Even if you haven't gotten to that point yet, it is something worth like protecting and valuing very highly. So I feel like that would just be my encouragement to people who do feel healthy is, how can I protect that, not make it worse down the line? And they might not have to put in as much work or than people who are kind of coming back from being down, but protecting it is going to help long term too. So
something Jacob says, and I'm probably going to butcher this quote, but it just reminds me of it, is like a normal person has 1,000 problems, a sick person has one, where it's kind of this reality of when you get to that point when you are sick and unwell and everything is not going well, there's really only one problem, and it's the fact that your health, like you just want to be better, and literally nothing else matters in life. Like everything's
like filtered through the lens of
filter
your
through the lens
health
of that,
and not feeling good.
And so I think just even, I don't know, it's just the reality that you don't want to get to that point either, because it's a awful place to be.
And like not wanting to take care of yourself out of fear, but like genuine like care for your body. And if you're a Christian, like you were created with purpose and your body was created with purpose, and you are called to steward it well. And it's actually like if you treat your body not well, like that is sin. And so it's like, even if you don't have the reasons, or you're not scared of getting sick, like don't be sinful towards your body, like take care of it. And so it's like,
that's so good.
That I think is another way you can look at it that is really helpful, because that's a deep like why too of I was gifted this body and created with purpose in this body. How can I do it well? And
you'll be rewarded in heaven for stewarding your body well.
For sure.
So if you're a Christian, there's your motivation.
Even if you're not.
And if you're not, so just
let me tell you about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
that'll heal you.
It will. It actually will.
Yeah, but no, we should just go into an episode on all of our like crazy God healing too. That'd be
that would be fun.
You were talking about like not doing things out of fear. I feel like something we see all the time is social media is so heavy when it comes to the wellness industry of like, here are a list of symptoms. If you have any of these symptoms, you might have a ton of parasites, or you might be exposed to mold, or you might have this, or you might have that. And it's always a list of like the most common basic
like
symptoms.
Headaches, tired,
and a lot of it is pushing people towards like purchasing their course or their protocol or their supplement or things like that. And so how would you encourage somebody who is heavily online to like filter through all that information that they're consuming?
That's like such a good question.
I do think if like in their caption they're linking something or have like a promo code, like take it with a heavy grain of salt.
Red flag.
Because and there are people who are promoting actual good things too. So that is fine. But I think what to be aware of is like these like cure-alls, like if you get rid of your parasites you will feel better. Okay, if you do have a parasite and you get rid of it but you're still eating like crap and you're not moving and you're not sleeping, you're not going to feel better. You just want to have a parasite. And so it's like that again, I think is more of like follow people who are encouraging like good basics and follow people who aren't like scaring you into buying something or scaring you that something's wrong with you and stuff like that. And I don't know, I think again, there are a lot of great voices online. There's also a lot of not great voices online, and people who are chasing money and chasing whatever. And maybe for them it worked. Maybe they had a parasite and the cleanse that they're promoting worked and changed their lives. But at the end of the day, like everyone's starting point is a little bit different. And so for them, maybe they were already doing a lot of basic stuff and that was the tipping point for them. So I don't know. That's what I would say. And just also too, if you find yourself getting anxious watching health related content, stop watching it.
Yeah.
Because it just isn't helpful. Yeah. Click the like not interested and get your algorithm back onto like something funny or like stuff like that. Yeah. Because it's, again, that mental side of things, the anxiety, the like fear, like not having peace is also impactful to your health. So I know sometimes it feels like, oh, it's everything, but like a lot of that stuff is within our control if we actually stop like consuming content that's making us anxious.
And
So
if you're anxious and fearful, your body isn't in a state to heal.
Right.
Like, not that it's impossible, but it for surely...
it's real hard.
It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
And so,
You're fine.
honestly, one of the first things, too, is, like, get into a sound place and have your nervous system be at peace.
Yeah.
Great starting block for healing.
For sure. And that's, I kind of mentioned that before, but again, like a big turning point in my health was when I did find the Lord and kind of had actual peace in my life for once in my life. But then just because you find the Lord one day doesn't solve all your problems either. So then in the last 2 years, I went to like a Christian therapist and like dove back into a lot of things that I had thought I processed and healed from. But now from like a biblical, how do I weave God into this for me? Because I felt like I had processed through it, but more from a perspective of like me, not like the Lord and like eternal purpose in these things and how do we reconcile with God. And so that was really pivotal too. That was happening within that year and a half of like really honing in on my health. Was pretty intensive like therapy of like going through some stuff because of that nervous system side of things, of if you do have like trauma and things that you're not willing to process or you don't know how to. A lot of us don't know how to, which is okay. That's why there's good therapists, there's also not good therapists. So like make sure you do your homework on that. Like working through that stuff is really helpful too, like because you actually can release it. And there's tons of different like studies and stuff out there of that impact and just what you, again, too, even a step further, what you believe about yourself and your body. If you don't believe that you can be healthy, if you are like constantly labeling yourself as sick or as XYZ or always looking at someone who's healthier than you and feeling bad for yourself, like you're never going to feel good.
This I think is so important.
And it's something that people don't think about. Like they're willing to do the diets, you're willing to take the supplements, they're willing to do all that. I saw this all the time. Not willing to do that emotional work, but that is where like a lot of that is going to actually start to pay off. And so I don't know, I think it is just like really worth it to do. And if you can't afford grass-fed meat, okay, start working on your nervous system then. Like start learning how to deep breathe and start learning how to like control your thoughts and your expectations. I think that's a big one. Learning to communicate with people in a healthy manner. Like I think that was a huge thing for me. It was like, I tend to have very high expectations of people without telling them. And then I can constantly feel like, why aren't they doing that? Or let down or disappointed. And really working on that. And like, it's me. Like I'm the problem a lot of the time in that. And yes, people are going to hurt you and all that. But if you start to really like work on you and your expectations and your communication, if you are disappointed, that's going to lead you to just like literally living so much more peacefully because you're not constantly like keeping track of what people are doing and being like, well, they didn't do that for me and now I'm upset that they didn't show up.
You could
and
spend
they don't know.
hours and hours harboring in bitterness and what's the word? Contempt. Thank you.
Yeah.
With the P-T. Yep. And that'll wreck you. That won't help your tummy. Let me tell you, that won't help your chronic pain or your inflammation. In fact, it'll just let her rip.
It will.
Yeah, that's so good. I feel like the nervous system thing has been something I've been learning so much about this year, and honestly, dare I say, potentially that's the best place to start.
If you're like, I have $0 and I can't start anywhere else, yes, I would start there. Even if you have some money to put towards like other things, yes, I do think the nervous system stuff is huge, like so huge.
I can notice when I'm worked up like
we
my
all
pain.
can. Well, there's a reason like we have like nervous tummy. Like think about that. Like when you were
Before you play a basketball game, you literally gonna
poop in your pants.
literally we've all experienced that, but we don't put that together.
Yeah.
That like again there is a gut brain connection, and I think a lot of times we do only think about it of gut to brain of once I fix my gut, once I fix my tummy,
Then
my brain will be better.
Yeah.
It goes literally both ways.
Yeah.
And so if our brain is like free to fix a lot of the time. Sometimes we need help. Like, don't get me wrong. There are things that you need to, but you can do a lot for free with your brain and with your nervous system. But it's hard. Like, that is, I think, nervous system and emotional work is the hardest work.
I totally agree.
And so I get why people don't do it because you have to pause and you have to sometimes, like, I remember my therapist was telling me, like, when you have scars or wounds, they heal over, and sometimes like she would paint this picture of like sometimes you have to like scratch the wound open and clean it out to let it actually heal well. And for me, like I had healed all my wounds but not with the Lord, and so what I needed to do was scratch them all back open and let him clean them out and let them heal with him and not with just like thinking about myself all the time, which is a lot of like typical like Western therapy. But yeah, so I do think that is just like a really underrated place to start, but a really, really impactful one for your health.
Yeah, totally. That's so good. And I feel like it's like one of those things where you have to be, I think you said like you can lead a horse to water, but if they're not willing to drink, and I think that one is super true for that, where I think you can even control a lot more of the food you eat and like the environmental factors even. Like you can create a very healthy home, you can create healthy meals, but like you have to be ready to do the deep emotional healing and like be open and willing. And honestly, I think the other thing we've learned about through one of our favorite podcasts is it's not always the best season to be doing deep emotional healing. Where like, let's say you have a lot going on right now, like obviously you want to be taking all of that before the Lord, but sometimes all you can manage is like what's in front of you today and handling that well. To like dive deep into like to scratch open the wounds and like do that deep healing. Sometimes you need like the space and the safety to do that. And you might need to be in like a very healthy spot, like be in a very healthy, safe relationships, not pouring like all of yourself out to, you know, there's life circumstances.
There are,
family members are ill, you're ill, like you're caretaking, you're working multiple jobs to like care for a family member or whatever it is, where I don't know.
I do think though within that, like, yes, there are a lot of circumstances. So like, yes, you might not be able to be like really diving in, but I do think as humans, we do tend to like be like, not right now, not right now, not right now. It's not a good time. It's never going to be a perfect time. So yes, within reason, because I do know there are a lot of circumstances, there are a lot of things sometimes where it's like, I actually can't right now. But can you take a deep breath every time you get in your car?
Yes.
Can you take 3 deep breaths when you go to the bathroom and are washing your hands? Yes, you can. That doesn't add any extra time. And that will actually make a major difference on your nervous system. Like I would always tell people, while you're washing your hands, we do that multiple times a day when you go to the bathroom. If you wash your hands, you go to the bathroom. Pretend like you do every time. That's a very easy time, or like tie it to something that you're already doing. If you travel a lot, every time you get in the car before you put it in drive, 3 deep breaths. Like those transitional periods will be really helpful too. So yeah, if you can't afford or you can't spend the time going to therapy, doing these deep dives, that's fine. But don't write that off as like, I can't do anything right now.
That's really good.
That makes sense.
Because otherwise you will get stuck in that. And we all have been. And so I think like, what is like the baby steps you can do in a day, and like those baby steps become habits, and then you can add another one. Like it doesn't have to be all of this all at once. You have to start somewhere though, and it does take a little bit of intentionality and like willingness to change and implement those things. So
that's really good advice. I feel like someone told me the other day, it was like micro meditation, where it's like when you're in the car, just turn off the music, turn off a podcast, and literally just look at the sky and be like, oh, that's a blue sky. I love that sky.
Stop taking in stimulus all the
look
time.
At those trees. Oh, I love my community I live in. How cute is this neighborhood? Like that's like even one of the best things we could do for ourselves.
So
just to do that all the time.
Yeah.
That's all that
That's all they had.
That's all they had.
Yeah.
And we're so just hungry for anything to numb and stimulate.
Yeah, our poor dopamine receptors
Our
are
poor
fried.
dopamine receptors.
Yeah. Or even like, I know one.
Stop listening to this podcast.
Yeah, go listen to nothing
At
and
least don't
start them all.
listen to it on 2-speed.
True. Yeah, listen to it on normal speed. Slow it
I feel
down,
like
actually.
I feel a little called out by that. I definitely do that a lot.
Oh, me too. We all have things, but another funny like little hack is like a lot of times people will brush their teeth like very aggressively, like very quickly
Also feel called out.
and aggressively, and it's like
Your toothbrush being
that's true. I didn't even think about that, but I do remember what your toothbrush looks like. So slow down and just like brush your teeth. Like
Well,
it
I
doesn't.
do have the electric toothbrush now where it's like a full 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't
so-
that feel long?
Yeah.
It does feel long, but I do like discipline myself to do that, but I'm still getting after it. And like the dentist said I just need to like literally let the electric one, like you don't even need to do these like
press.
brushing motions. You just
Yeah.
literally like let it follow along your tooth because it does the work for you.
Yeah.
And that's more effective. Yeah, I'm
Anyways.
gonna. Hey, that's a good one. Sorry, finish your thought.
No, I was just saying, like, little things like that. If you find yourself, like, severely rushing through something, like, slow down. Like, we are not, like, we live in this constant state of, like, there's a lion about to eat me. And, like, there's literally not a lion about to eat you. Like, we're okay.
We're the most comfortable generation
We're okay.
to ever
Like,
exist.
Yeah.
We're very safe and we're
Yeah.
very comfortable and we're okay. And so it's like, yeah, when you're just rushing or feeling, if you start to just like feel like I have no downtime in my day. I feel like I'm going from one thing to the next, like it might be true. You might have a packed schedule, but also, like I said, use those little transition periods, like take a deep breath, because otherwise you're not enjoying those things either. If you're constantly like, oh, like I just am so busy, everything is so full, then you're missing it too, because you're so worried about it being so full and so busy. So it's like, what can I do to help myself be present and to help myself be calm, where I can.
Yeah.
And some things are out of your control. If you're in a chaotic work environment or your family is a mess, like going into your family's house might feel hard, but like what can you do for you in that? And whether it is literally going to the bathroom and putting cold water on your face and taking a deep breath before you go to dinner with your family, like those little things like do add up. And I think we just tend to wait for like the big thing that's going to solve all the problems.
So American of
But
us.
then it is
It
so
really is.
American, Amazon
Like,
Prime of us, of
yeah.
like, I want to do this for 2 days. I want to go on a retreat for 2 days and then be
Oh my god.
good for the rest of my life. And it's just not. And I think
Yeah.
that's why, like, a big thing too, like, in my life recently as a new mom is like the term like manna for the day. Like you have,
Yeah.
like in the Bible, like God gave manna for just that day, like all you need for just that day. And I think he does that. And I think we also can like do little habits each day that is going to help us long term and bigger picture. And don't worry so much about the like huge things all the time. Just start small. And it's not going to be like, I don't know. We don't always need these huge interventions like we think we do or we want them. We're chasing them. But it starts like really, really small and at home and just like in your day. So
That's so
That's so
good.
good.
I love that so much. Well, I think we could obviously dive into so much. We're
Yeah.
gonna definitely have to have you back. And so we'll just like look forward to a part 2, 3, 4 because I feel like there's so many like more aspects of your story we'd love to chat about. And now Mel is a mother, which is so exciting.
Baby
and
Millie.
she's right now staying at home with little baby Millie. So
Yes.
hopefully now that you don't have to go into work on a Monday, you could come by us, baby.
I can whenever.
But all right, well, we love you guys. We hope that you guys took something incredibly awesome from this, and we hope to see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.